people are deliberate with a lot of things. I think he's a very deliberate person.
He is.
Indeed,
And he's got beef with everybody.
Yes.
The other day I saw that he had this thing is that he wanted a lot of murder so that he could surround himself.
But all right, let's start.
Having the
Otherwise, we
conversation.
are gonna be here all night, which I don't mind.
Okay, so let's have the conversation. How about now? The question that I have here is, what makes a person influential? What makes a person influential?
Who wants to open the floor on that one?
Who's gonna break the ice?
Are you guys influential? Are you called influencers?
That's completely subjective.
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's like to say like I don't think I'm influential, but I feel like I have potential to be.
What would make you?
This is such a difficult question. I think what would make someone influential is having influence over people. You know? It's like if I say, switch on your radio and listen to 99 FM right now, and people actually do it.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, it's really difficult to get people to do things.
True. I feel like if someone is influential, firstly, there's two aspects to look at it, because you can have bad influence and good influence.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important to take cognizance of the fact that you want to impact people in a good way. I don't think anyone goes onto social media to intentionally impact people in a bad manner. But I feel like in order to be a person of influence, I think you carry weight. These days in social media, it has to do with the amount of followers you have. I disagree with that, because I've seen people with a handful of followers that are able to get them to do certain things that someone with 100,000 followers doesn't get to do. So I think there's that disparity that we need to talk about. Yeah.
I don't know, for me, influencers, it's like it's become such a icky word.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that like Marvella said, it's this thing of, it's always been, or like in recent times, it's really been connected with the amount of followers you have. But I think we're forgetting about someone who has maybe 20 or 30 or 40 followers, who is literally just their family members and maybe some people they've met along the way. And even like actually having a smaller audience like that and having a bigger impact on them, like you said, yeah, I don't know. I think regardless of how many followers you have, at some point in time you're going to impact someone's decision making.
True.
Be it something as silly as considering shopping at Checkers instead of Spar. Or something really big like considering posting a photo with a wild animal. There's influence is such a, yeah, it goes a bit on a, I don't want to call it a spectrum, but I think everyone innately has influence to some extent.
And I think it's crazy how when we think about the word influence, we immediately think about social media.
Yeah.
It's crazy the time that we're living in, because if you think about it, people were influential before social media.
Definitely.
There's people who influenced like revolutions to happen.
Nelson Mandela.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's actually interesting to think about how the time we're living in and the time before us, what influence was back then and what it is now, because now we're getting influenced by people we see on a screen. But I mean, people also lead revolutions on social media.
I think also the thing is that what makes a person influential is that the fact that people either associate themselves with what the person is doing. And most of the time, I think that when you look at social media, we are influenced, or a person becomes influential when we want to share what they have, who they are and such. Because now we find with social media that people actually portray themselves in a light that might not be true. It's not all the time, but what we do is that we try to put ourselves out there, and people who are the influenced want that, which means that they agree. So an influential person is the person that others find agreeable, or the other
Relatable.
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 So I think that is the thing when we look up to people, whether it's sports personalities,
Yeah.
influencers, politicians, as you said, whichever aspect it is, that people see certain characteristics in these people, something that they can follow and such, because it's about following, isn't it? So because if you are influential, people actually follow what you say.
Yes.
As you said,
You
it
have
could
an
be a good thing.
impact.
You have an impact, and that's what Shireen said. So I think that, yes, it's about the impact.
Yeah.
That's what makes people, in my view, influential.
True. Can we get into the second question? Guys, I'm
I'm so
nervous because
curious.
we don't know what the questions are, so this is very organic. What role do influencers play in society?
Yikes.
Yeah. I think we covered some of that.
We
Yeah.
did.
What role they play is they set the agenda. They set the agenda for what people are going to do, what they will believe in,
Yes.
and also they stimulate social dialogue. I mean, if somebody would come with, and I think before the show you're talking about, for instance, fashion. So if you look at all spheres of life, it's not only in terms of social media and such, but fashion, So they set trends. So that's the role that they could have a role for good, but everybody decides for themselves, isn't it? So they set agenda. That's what I feel.
Yeah.
And I think it comes to what Marvelous said, like how you can have positive and negative influence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there are also people who are perhaps like living a certain lifestyle. If we look at music, right, and what's popular music right now is of course hip hop.
Yes.
And the influence that hip hop, like artists are also influencers. Like they're not influencers in the name of like someone whose job it is to go on social media and sell things to the public, but they are influencing people by being high profile figures.
Exactly.
And through their music, they're sending a certain message. And the crazy thing about music is that people make music and send out certain messages, like hip hop, for example, where people talk about drugs and alcohol and a certain lifestyle. And a lot of times you don't even love that lifestyle, but you're pushing out that message because that message is popular.
Yes, that's what sells.
It sells.
So
it sells.
it sells. So that's the thing about social media, music, and such. You do not always. You'll find even artists. Television personalities, what they portray on the screen, and they have very private lives. So it's different. But the role they have is that they set agenda. They create our reality. Even though what they are doing might not be real, it might be fictional, the role that they have is that they make people believe, they make people act in a particular way. And that's where it ends.
Yeah.
So they don't have that. It's not always that it goes along with responsibility. I've done my job. I sang about something, whether it be violence or love, whatever it was, that was what sold. And then that's it.
But that you said a word there. You said the word responsibility.
Yeah.
They have a huge responsibility because I'm just looking at a big artist like Tupac. He passed away in a time where I wasn't even born, but I still hear about him.
His influence is still here,
His
yeah.
influence is still there, and there's so many conspiracy theories about him and so forth. His role in society was to awaken black people on how they're being mistreated and so forth. So each influencer has a certain aspect that they take, be it fashion, be it cooking, be it music, be it whatever, but you need to know what you're passionate about as an influencer. But I think the role they play is so imperative that we need to put it upon influencers to know that whatever they push out, they have to be responsible, like what he said.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, with great influence comes great responsibility.
Definitely. Yes.
And it also, I mean, that's a completely different topic, but it becomes a slippery slope, that intense responsibility, to post about something, whether you believe in it or not. It's like if you're silent, are you condoning?
Yes,
It's
exactly.
It's really,
Even
really
though-
tricky. But I think
Very
that
true.
the massive role that influencers play on society, like you said, is it compels us not only towards buying things per se, but to living a certain lifestyle.
Yes.
And also in the sense of music, I think that if you engage a lot with sort of, a musical personality, there's this appeal to perhaps try and make music of your own. And I think it can be a lot more wholesome, an influencer's impact on society than we make it out to be. I mean, we're flooded with all the negative, like the skinny waist and all of the kind of ideals that are set by it lifestyle wise. But I think when you have a really powerful message and it's completely true to yourself, that impact and the role that plays on society, I mean, it's tenfold.
I agree with that. I 100% agree. I also feel like, to a certain aspect, influencers are playing a role in society now where corporate companies are using them. That wasn't done in the past. You're now being used to push content because people have taken cognizance of the fact that life is on social media now. So that role that they play is also huge in terms of like finance and corporate and whatever not. So
it's become part of the economy.
it has.
Yes.
By all means. I mean,
saw a
still in
video
its
the other
infancy,
day.
but
I saw a video the other day speaking about should influencers get taxed.
But they do
you're
get
paid.
taxed in the Americas.
You
and
see,
so on,
but like in Namibia, it's not a thing yet, but it's an income for some people.
it's an industry. Like influencing is the new way how people do marketing.
Yes.
Where you used to place an ad on the television,
Now you use an influencer.
You're now using an influencer, and that's media. And media for generations has been used as a tool to program people's minds.
So now, as I was saying, regardless of how you look at it, they set the agenda. The agenda for what I'm going to buy, where I'm going to eat, how I should feel about animal rights, or how I should feel. Like, for instance, what you said about the silence of certain people. You are an influencer, but now you are not saying anything about the situation surrounding the war. What's your opinion? So their opinion is very valid. So the role that they play is just not about being, because I think for me it's also a bit of a, for the lack of a better term, it's almost like it's a bit of a selfish thing also.
But it's a slippery slope.
It is a slippery slope, yeah.
Because you can't always have an opinion on everything.
But it's required. But it's required. They are put on a higher pedestal than anybody else.
But if we see the media now, if I am an influencer or a high-profile figure, and I have an opinion on politics, and I'm a musician, people will come at me and say, "Who are you to have an opinion on politics?
Exactly.
You make music. Go do what you do best." Which is, it happens to Cardi B.
I think I think it's changing. Look at what happened with LeBron James, for instance. He's a basketball player. He's an influencer, and he had something to say about Black Lives Matter. So there was a reporter that said, "Okay, you just shut up and dribble," and that set the agenda again, saying that influencers should not just be people who appear on television in terms of, for instance, I'm building my following, but you should also speak. So it's a polarizing thing as well. In this day and age, we don't have the fence thing anymore. You choose a side, and that's the role that they play. They either push this agenda or they push that agenda. Either way, that's what I think. Yes.
Sure. We've covered the flipping spectrum, eh?
Yeah. I hope we haven't covered the next question already.
We probably have. Ooh, okay, this is a good one. How are you going to use your influence? So the question is, how are you going to use your influence?
I turned my card around first.
Why are we all just like silent?
I
think this whole thing has just gone from talking about other people to talking
it's now us.
Like,
so scary.
Starting with the man in the mirror vibes.
Yeah.
I think it's funny because we've placed so much emphasis on what influencers should do. And now that the wheel is turned, even he's silent.
Just ask the question again. How are you going to use your influence?
Your influence.
The first thing is that I would say, let me try to break the ice. Maybe it's not even ice, it's a wall. The thing is this, I mean,
Oh my God.
I think, this is what I believe, I don't know everything. And the older I got, the less ego there is for me. I think it's nice to sound intelligent and actually to be, as an influencer or somebody that has a following or some impact in society, you can be manipulative around things, and you can always do, because inherently I think we try to push ourselves, and that's the thing that I associate with social media. So in my case, I don't know anything. A lot. I know some stuff.
Yeah.
But what you said about the mirror is that how I would use my influence, should there be any, is that I should live what I preach.
Yeah.
I think that's much more powerful than putting out a couple of statements, because the thing is that it's a very busy world. It's noisy, you know, it's things trending all the time. And the influence is about being authentic, because that's the only thing that we can do. We try to join conversations, to appear in a particular light and such, so much so that we lose ourselves. And the thing for me is about being you. Yourself, you know, whatever it is that you've chosen in life, you know.
100%.
So if I'm going to use any influence, or if people would listen to me, give me the time of day, the light of day, listen to me, it would be okay. Hey, that guy does what he says.
I just want to add to that. I remember when I was grade 12, I actually failed grade 12. And I went to Tucson to improve on my points. And at the time, it was like, I came from St. George's. So all my friends were like, they're going to the UK and. And I went onto my social media just to say, guys, it's really okay if you're going in this route, you know, going to Tucson. And the amount of following I got was crazy. I think, and that's where I realized that people relate. People want to follow people that they can relate to. This whole thing of looking pretty all the time,
Yes.
and not engaging your followers on a real level really makes them feel like you're some out of reach personality, which I'm not. If you see me in town, I want to get a hug and I want to say hi. So I don't want to be like, oh, there's Marvelous, but let's not disturb her, because I don't want to be seen as an influencer. My role, I think, or how I use my influencing is to be authentic and to really give people content that they can relate to. When I was going through my degree, I failed certain modules, and I was very open about it. I was like, I'm struggling with statistics, I don't know how to do. Those are things that I'll talk about on my social media. So I know the kind of following that I have, and I feed into that. Also not taking away from my authenticity, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like what you guys said kind of like sparked some light bulbs in me.
Yeah.
Because like I said, the influencer word is difficult because I don't really consider myself an influencer. I don't have a huge social media following. But like you guys said about authenticity, when I think about, like, you know, I move more in the spectrum of music and entertainment. And for example, a lot of people, when they speak to me, like they like, for example, let's say how I dress. And how I dress is now again...
I love how you dress. I love it. Just
like for me, how I dress is a reflection of my personality. And I've always loved by that. I might wake up today and feel like being this gracious, beautiful, tall queen, and tomorrow I might wake up and feel like I want to wear sweatpants and a hoodie and feel more my tomboy side. And I've always gotten that, you know, you inspire me to be more expressive. And you know, I had a baby, and recently I got a message on my Instagram from a girl who's like, and I was actually quite shocked because I didn't realize that people actually look at you like that. Because she was like, you know, I just wanted to say you inspire me. I also have a little baby, and I see you doing music and you still follow your dreams and you didn't give up, and I also want to do music, and looking at you makes me feel like I can do that. And those small little things, like I said, I don't have a huge social media following, but when a person like that comes to you and says something like that, I'm like, oh wow, I'm actually doing something positive without knowing that I was doing it.
Because you are just being you.
True. Yes.
Absolutely.
Like
That's
you
the
guys
thing.
you both spoke about authenticity and loving what you preach. So it's almost like you don't really have to say anything.
I just feel like I've known Khadija for a very long time, and what you see is what you get. Like, she's very, like, if you see her, she's very vocal on what she believes in. Her dress code hasn't really changed since school. Like, she's been the exact same person. And that's why I would believe if her followers can see that kind of growth in her, because you haven't really changed. Like, I haven't seen you in years, but I still feel like, oh, it's still you.
Oh, you know, when you see many, you say that.
When you see many people after school, you're like, is it still you? Hi. I'm not sure.
What do you think?
I think for me, it's tricky because I think, well, like we spoke about earlier, there is a certain kind of responsibility attached to it. But you cannot be everything for everyone.
Yes.
And
Ain't that
and I know
true?
it's kind of like a bit of a marketing stint to have a niche, but that's what authenticity essentially means, is that you're not talking like a bunch of
Thank you.
nonsense about stuff that you don't
Yeah.
in the first place feel passionate about.
Yes.
You feel like
Oh my
you've
gosh.
been coerced into talking about it because
Oh
that's
my
been expected
gosh.
from you.
Yes.
So yeah, so finding that niche in the sense of genuinely just being true to yourself. And if you do settle, or that's the way that I plan on using my influences, I have like particular things that I feel really strong about, and
100%.
a lot of it is centered around conservation and the environment. So like I'm fighting these two wars at the moment, which is kind of wildlife selfies on the one hand, because that's seriously building like a lot of momentum in the Namibian space, you know, being able to touch a wild cheetah that's supposed to be rehabilitated. And the other one is the fact that a lot of people are sitting on the dead trees in dead flay. So I mean,
That was bad.
but by all means, if I can post as much about that as I possibly can, and maybe change one or two people's perspective, because that's the kind of feedback I get as well. It's like this really tiny handful of people who start sending me like posts from other people from around the world, and they're like, look at what this guy's doing, and they won't necessarily perhaps address them or contact them personally or comment something, but they've sent it to me, which means that I've influenced them to think about it twice.
Yes.
You know, it has this whole...
I agree with that. Just
Yeah.
before we go to Khadijah's question, I just wanted to say that when you're saying influencers aren't supposed to, we're not entitled to know every topic or
Yeah.
to speak about every topic. It brings me back to a quote that I learned many years ago that says, just like everybody's not your cup of tea, you can't be everyone's cup of tea.
Absolutely.
So I can't contribute to everything that's happening. Like, you're talking about conservation. Like, it's something that would hurt me, but I wouldn't go on my social media and speak about it because I'm not that well versed about it. But if you speak to me about motivational quotes and so forth, that's like more my space. And I think we need to have that respect and boundaries to say, Khadijah's music, your conservation, I'm motivational speaking, he's also a speaker. We need to have that kind of respect. I love that.
Yeah. Before we go to your question, I think that for me, it's the human condition, a holistic approach to what it is. What we see with influences and the space that people are in, like just like with beauty magazines, this song that says that don't read beauty magazines, they'll only make you feel ugly, kind of thing.
That's
Is
where
that,
sunscreen.
Yeah, sunscreen. That's
a
amazing.
great
You know,
speech,
it's
yeah.
like that's amazing.
Yeah.
So I heard it way back, but I always listen to it. We should be able to show, and I think, we should also be able to show how vulnerable we are as people. That, for instance, what's happening now is that you see a lot of influencers and people who are celebrities and such go through struggles, and mental health issues and such. Now, what we do, and as you said, is that you set the standard so high that people cannot catch up to that.
Yeah.
And then it's unrealistic. So my influence, should there be any, is to just show people that, hey, it's okay to be human.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
Guys, my food's done.
I barely started.
You wanna share?
Please, guys.
I think we're about to run out of time, though.
Okay.
So
Sorry?
we're about to run out of time.
Okay.
So my question is, how about now?
What?
Ooh.
Was that your question?
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's abstract.
How about now? It's really abstract.
How about now?
Okay, I
Within
think
the
I'll take a
context of
shot.
what we spoke about. Okay.
How about now for me is like, how about now I use my influence in a positive way? How about now I actually start influencing and stop being afraid of influencing? Because I think if I'm being honest with you, I'm afraid of influencing people. Because I don't want to lead you astray, or anyone who might look up to me or think I'm something that they admire to emulate, because I'm also still figuring things out.
Yeah,
True.
yeah. That's a nice one. We all are still figuring it out. So how about now understanding that life has no manual and that we will still make mistakes. We are still growing. Look, I know it's in that song again, the sunscreen. I know a lot. That's it. So it's
Guys, I want to
because-
hear every
yeah,
song.
we
I
will
wanna hear.
we'll tell you
We'll
about
play it
that song.
after.
It's like you might be 40 and you don't know where you are going. There are some interesting 40-year-old people that he apparently knows that are deemed successful, but they are still finding themselves. So as much as we look at positive messages and such, I will still insist it's about allowing space for growth. So how about now focusing on who and what you are and what you can become? So that's my message, yeah.
Okay, so as a Standard Bank influencer, How About Now is actually the new slogan
Yeah.
for Standard Bank. It changed from It Can Be.
Oh, really? It changed?
So we're like trying to push a campaign of how about now? Like we have to think
time.
about
No
things.
time
The
like now.
There's no time like right now. I
You gotta
love
do things,
that.
you gotta start now.
Because if you think about it, we're always like, I'm gonna
I'll
be
do it
happy
tomorrow.
when I'll do
New
it
Year's
tomorrow.
resolutions.
New Year's
no,
resolution.
do the thing right
Yeah,
now.
how about now?
How about starting
Yeah,
now?
I agree.
Yeah.
So we need to learn to start with influence now, and we need to be okay with the fact that we're not perfect.
Yes.
And there's no clear-cut manual when it comes to life, just like what he said. I just want to supplement on that. So the time to influence is now. And also I want to mention that influence isn't necessarily only on social media. You're an influencer at home, you influence your baby.
Yes, exactly.
You're an influencer at work, you influence your colleagues. We are influencers in class, so
Yes,
influence
yes.
isn't just on social media, it's also your role in society. When you go to the shop, what is your influence in the store? Do you give people a chance to walk before you? Are you a
I think
decent
that adds
human being?
perfectly to how about now is instead of how about on Instagram, how about on social media?
In real life.
How about now?
Yes.
I like
We're
that.
having kind of
Yes,
conversations
because-
like that.
because they say that you don't know who's watching you.
Yes.
You know, you might think that okay, I'm only on, but there's somebody that sits there and they want to be somebody more. You know, I've got this thing where I say that let's make the rest of your life the best of your life.
I
So
agree.
how about starting that now?
Yeah.
Your cookbook, whatever it is, try. How about now?
Let's start it now.
Yeah, start it now.
And we started it now.
Yes.
And this has been great.
Yes.
It's been so good, like
Yeah.
sitting with you guys,
Nice to meet you.
hearing like you got your perspectives
I'm actually starstruck, ne? Cheers.
Same. Yeah, cheers.
Cheers, guys. This has been
Cheers,
beautiful.
cheers,
How
cheers,
about now?
How
Yes,
about
yes.
now?
How about we finish this food right now?
Yeah.
Mine's done.
How about
How about now?